Good evening to you and yours. You're watching Cape Town TV's Open Studio, where we'll be talking about the societal issues right through the half an hour. I'm joined in via Skype by a brand manager, Arne Rust. We're going to be talking about gender-based violence and what his brand is doing to curb the scourge of gender-based violence. My name is Llama Moon. I am delighted to be your host, hoping that whatever we cover today, you're going to pack it with a kaftina and go with it and share with your friends and family, because we all need to be involved in fighting this hideous crime. Well, there's hashtag no excuse, and if you haven't heard about this hashtag, where have you been? It's time to wake up and get involved and see the community for what it is, and maybe perhaps you could play a bigger and better role in fighting gender-based violence. Anne, welcome to the show and thank you for joining us.
Hi, Lama. Thank you for having me.
Yo, hashtag no excuse. I understand it's something huge. And oh man, in fact, everybody, if you're a human being, you need to participate in this. For somebody who does not know what hashtag no excuse is, can you briefly explain to them, because it has been in existence for the past 3 years?
Yeah. No, thanks for the intro. And I agree with you. It's something that everybody has a say in. But what No Excuse specifically looks at is the role of men and the role of men in gender-based violence. So what No Excuse does is it directly addresses what we found to be a pretty widespread behavior in men who abuse. You know, they make excuses. They say things like, no, I was drunk, or she wasn't listening, or it's my right as a man, and many variations on that theme. But what we're saying is that there is no excuse for abuse. Not that I was drunk, not that she deserved it. There is no excuse. You as a man have to control yourself. And then as a beer, Carling Black Label, that exists to recognize and reward the champion within, Carling Black Label has a role to play here. And what we're saying is that champion men are what is needed to win the fight against gender-based violence.
And a 51% of victims is a huge number. It's more than half of the female population that we have. Why do you think that there's a constant rise in gender-based violent crimes?
So it is an absolutely scary stat, and there are many other stats in that space. And you're asking what the root cause is of gender-based violence. What we've seen from our experience with working on the ground with men, and I'm not talking just like one or two men here. Over the last 3 years, we've worked with about 50,000 men. Is that right at the heart of this issue is wounded masculinity. It is a man who never quite got the answer to the question, am I enough? Because as you grow up and you're trying to test yourself against the world, you wonder, like, am I enough? And if you never get that answer, or if you get something that hurts you there, something like you don't get chosen for a position, you don't get chosen for a team, your father might have been absent, or he might have been abusive, even something as simple as getting rejected by a woman. All of these things wound our masculinity. And then if you aren't equipped to deal with that, then it comes out in very negative ways. Either it comes out as gender violence, we externalize those issues, and the result of that is horrendous. You mentioned the stats, and the outcomes are just so much worse because men are more powerful. We are more dangerous. We are stronger. So that when men lose it, the outcome of that is horrific. And the other flip side of that is we as men really struggle to deal with our emotions. You know, we always sort of get teased saying that, nah, you know, men can't, we're not good at talking about our issues. And, you know, there's this whole thing about men don't cry. And that's all, that is so destructive, because if you aren't able to deal or to share the burden, then it results in things like suicide, right? The male suicide rate is about 400% higher than the female suicide rate, because we're just ill-equipped to deal with these issues, and then we end up taking a very long-term solution to a very.
And then you'll find hashtags that go like, not all men are trash. Whereas somebody, you could not, you are not abusive towards your partner, but you know of a person that is. It could be your friend, it could be your brother, it could be your cousin. What do we say to those kind of men?
So, to hark back a little bit to the stats here, about 30% of people know someone closely who is either experiencing abuse or has experienced.
Yes.
And what we're saying is that in this renewal, and if you look at the three different pieces of the renewal vow, then the last one there is to rebel. And what we're saying is that you have to rebel against the idea that you can't help. Because what we've seen speaking to men is like, no, this is somebody else's problem. This is happening somewhere else. But what we're saying is that if you renew your vows to the women in your life, to women in general, to society as a whole, then you need to rebel against the idea that you can't help. So you need to get involved, right? There's no somebody else is going to sort this out. We as a group of men have to sort this out. There's a beautiful African proverb that says that the child who isn't brought into the village will burn it down just to feel the heat. And if we cannot bring those men, those destructive men in and shape them, then we're all going to sit with a burnt village.
There's renew, recommit, and rebel, and something so exciting is the black band. Can you tell us about the black band and why is it worn?
So what we saw about many of the initiatives is that there's a lot of talk. There's often, no, we should all agree, yes, gender violence is a bad thing, but to me, that's you're not winning any points by saying that gender violence should be stopped. I don't think there's anybody in their right mind who's saying that, yeah, no, we're pro gender violence. Let's keep that thing going. I think everybody agrees that this is something that we need to address. But how, right? How do you change people's behaviors? So if you look at some behavioral psychology, is that a physical promise, a manifestation of something, a promise that you've made, helps anchor you to the promise. So if you look at my hand, just on,
Yes.
I'm wearing a ring, and this is a symbol of the vow that I made, and it's saying no excuse. So we have armbands, as you were mentioning there, and we also have rings. And what these are supposed to do is that they are a physical symbol to yourself to remind you of the vow that you made. But they're more than that. They're actually a symbol to people in general. So if a woman sees a man wearing something like this, then she knows that he's taken the vow, he's renewed his social contract to women and to society, and that he has promised to be a better man. And we hope, and my hope is that we're going to get 1 million men to wear this, to take the vow, and to really make an impact on the incidence of gender.
What a way to make a woman feel empowered and protected when they see a man wearing that ring or that armband. I'm so excited. And then I understand that there are prominent names that are involved in this campaign. After the break, I want you to unpack why you chosen those celebrities that come from South Africa to be part of this campaign. Keep it locked right here on Open Studio. We're saying hashtag no excuse. You were not drunk. She did not do this and that. There is never a good enough reason for you to be abusive towards the other gender. And there is no good enough reason for you to be a spectator. Please call out that brother and say, man, I see you. And there are many ways that you can show commitment. Like we said earlier on, before the outbreak, kukho armbands, kukho rings, you can renew those vows, you can recommit, and you can rebel against abantu abusive towards the women that are living in our society. Now, if you just joined us, clearly know Arne Rust, who is the brand executive, yeah, public calling Black Label. They're taking us through hashtag no excuse and why it's important for us to, as a collective, to be part of a fight against the gender-based violence. Arne, welcome back to the show. You have prominent names, celebrities who are taking part in this campaign. Who are those people and why was it important for you guys to approach them so that you guys are aligned and they can be part of the voices that we get to hear talking hashtag no excuse?
No, sure. We do use influencers, but before I give you the names, I just quickly want to add some more information to the rings and the wristbands.
Yes.
So the other thing that we've got in mind with these is that the Honourable President Cyril Ramaphosa asked South Africans to wear a black band in solidarity to everybody who suffered in 2020. And we see this as being a step in that direction. So by wearing a black, either the wristband or the ring, you are showing your solidarity. And what it also does is, because it's on your hand, on your fist, the hand that so often becomes the weapon, the hand that can destroy, but also the hand that can create. We are changing this symbol that is a weapon if used wrongly into the promise that you want to be a better man. So that, I just love how we've been able to merge those two worlds together and really put it where it matters. Now, onto your question: who have we been partnering with? So far we've worked with the likes of Dr. Musa Motobeni at our launch in Durban, and he is absolutely fantastic. He's a medical doctor. He spent time in hospitals treating victims of abuse. He's very much on the ground working in this space. We also worked with the couple Lerato Maketa and his wife, the actor, absolute class act, and they actually made the vow. So Lerato made the vow to his wife live at the media launch, and it was just so soulful and authentic. On the political side, we had the honor of being at Men's Parliament last week down in Cape Town, and there were some high profile people there, like the Honorable Deputy Minister of Social Development, Henrietta Bokopane Zulu, and also the Deputy Chair of the NCOP, Sylvia Lucas, who very much support the initiative and have given their backing and their credentials to No Excuse Renewal. There's also a huge announcement happening tomorrow. Unfortunately, I can't share too much about that, but it will significantly expand the reach of the No Excuse Renewal campaign.
Yeah, you're also collaborating when Arne with Father and Nation. Can you tell us a little bit about that NGO?
So Father and Nation are a men's mentorship NGO, and they're led by the inimitable Craig Wilkinson. He is an absolute wonder. If you ever have a chance, I would very much recommend that you just have a chat with him. In fact, you can watch some videos on our YouTube page or on the Father and Nation website, where he takes you through a whole bunch of the stuff around gender violence and No Excuse. But our learning right in the beginning of launching No Excuse is that we need partners, and that we are a beer company, we're not a counseling company, we're not a mentorship company. So we partnered with Father and Nation, we partnered with Lifeline to enable us to not just talk. This is not just a marketing campaign where we're holding up a sign saying, we need to get more awareness. We want to help men become better. And that's what Father and Nation and Lifeline help us to do.
How much of an issue is fatherlessness, and how is it linked to gender-based violence and perhaps other crimes?
I think that is in a year of shocking statistics. I think this was one that really stuck with me. So 63% of households in South Africa don't have the biological father present. 63%. So who now becomes the model of what a good man should be? Sometimes, yes, you get an uncle, or you get an older brother, you get someone who models that positive masculinity, but you're already starting on the back foot. You've got more than half of family units that, for many reasons, have been dislocated and destroyed. So fixing that fatherlessness becomes a huge challenge. And to answer your question on how does that relate to GBV, we spoke about woundedness earlier, about the woundedness that men carry within them, because they never truly got the answer to, am I enough? And I'll speak from my own experience, right? As you grow up, you're looking up to your dad saying that, do I deserve this? Am I good enough? Are you proud of me? And if he's not there, or even worse, if he's abusive, then you never get that. You never get that confirmation of your masculinity and that you're on the right path. And sometimes the forcibly saying that, hey, you need to pull yourself towards yourself, because what you're doing now is not right. You do not speak to women that way. You do not speak to your mother that way. And we need that in families. And when that is missing, when that is absent, the results are the horrendous GBV stats that we have in South Africa.
Most recently, there was International Men's Day. I didn't even know that such a day existed, but you did something special on that day. I want to find out what activities did you guys do, and what do you hope the people that attended are gonna take or took away from that day. But we'll chat about that after this quick ad break. Don't go too far. This is Open Studio. We're still chatting gender-based violence. Hashtag no excuse with Arne Rusty. Keep it locked right here on Cape Town TV. www.noexcusesa.com is where you find them on the World Wide Web. Take a look, take some time and read through uzobona na uzofunda izinto ezithile so that you can become a better man, and perhaps the younger generation that is looking up to you can become better through your actions, because you have renewed, you have recommitted, you have rebelled against this illness. Welcome back, Anne, to the show. Recently, it was International Men's Day. What's the significance of that day, and what activities did you guys have as hashtag no excuse?
So thank you for having me. I think the significance of International Men's Day is largely around changing the narrative of masculinity. Masculinity, especially in the last while, and sometimes very rightfully so, has gotten a very bad reputation. So be a man, right? What does that even mean? And what International Men's Day exists to do is to celebrate the special value that men also add to society. Because yes, there is destructive tendencies, and yes, sometimes that thing can get out of control, but there's also beauty there. There's also something in the drive and the I would also say the dangerousness of men to be able to protect people, to be able to care, to be able to build, and changing that narrative from the, as you mentioned earlier, the all men are trash, to a we recognize and we accept that some men are trash and that there is something that needs to be done. But that men, there's no problem that man made that man cannot unmake. I
Mm.
think is where that conversation needs to lean into. That we shouldn't be ashamed of being men. We need to take action to be better men. And on the day of International Men's Day, we were at Men's Parliament, which is an eye-opening experience. You have representatives of the men's sector from right across South Africa, from Butterworth to Palaborva, from just all over the place.
Yeah.
And they all join together at Parliament in Cape Town to talk about men's issues, to talk about what the role of men is in society. And what we used that moment for is to get the buy-in from that greater group and those leaders in their communities to take the renewal vow, to renew their values to their wives and society, to recommit to being better, and to rebel against the idea that they can't help.
Anne, it's 16 days of activism against women and children abuse. What is the message that the South African men need to hear loud and clear?
That we need to be part of the solution. The time for talking is done. It is now the time for action, which is why we are driving the physical manifestation of the promise so hard, which is why we are asking men to go do the Champions for Change course, which is free, by the way. If you go to the website, noexcusesa.com, you can go do the course. I would highly recommend you go do that for anyone, right? It holds up the mirror, and you walk out of there thinking, man, I learned some things going through that course. And my message to men would be that stop pretending that this is not your fight, because this is your fight, and that we need all get involved to become part of the solution.
You are not shy at collecting a lot of people, because I understand some other time you went to the Soweto Derby where over 80% of South African men, because they love soccer, were tuned in, and that's where those are some of the platforms that you choose to use to advocate, to give messages across. Since the inception of hashtag no excuse, it was 2017 to date. Are there any progress that you have seen? Are there any changes? Are you hopeful?
I am hopeful, to be honest. And we have seen change. We're definitely not. We haven't found the solution yet. We're not in a place where we can go high fives, park it. We are far from there. But from what we've seen in our research, is when we started No Excuse, about 6% of South Africans believed that gender violence was normal. Now, it's a pretty low number, 6%. But for anybody to think that beating your wife is your right, or that it was her fault, to me is just horrendous. And what we've been able to do is to half that number to below 3%. So that to me already gives me hope. And even if you look at the statistics of from the National Police Service, so in the year 2015, 2016, there were about 186,000 what they call contact crimes against women. And in the year 2019, 2020, there were 171,000. So there is an 8% drop in the reported crimes. Now, it's more complicated than that because gender violence of all crimes has the highest rate of going unreported because people are in these relationships and sometimes they're stuck for whatever reason. It's economic abuse, right? The man who's putting food on the table is also abusing his wife. But what I love about where that number is going is it's trending down. And that if we can get more women to speak up and lean into the conversation more, because this has definitely become a more topical issue. This was very taboo, very uncomfortable 4 or 5 years ago. Now it's at the forefront of public discourse, where it should be. And by doing this, by doing these kinds of initiatives, by speaking to men like yourself, by speaking to your listeners and your viewers, we can get broader based buy-in and go make an even bigger difference.
0800 150 150 is that toll-free number you can dial if you need assistance. Maybe you are a man who's looking to change. Maybe you're a victim and you're looking for help. Now, Arne, how does an ordinary South African that wants to reach out to you, they need help, they need assistance, how do they then get in touch and get hold of you? And what help can you give them?
So if anybody watching this, listening to this needs help right now, I would do exactly what you said. So call that number, call 0800 150 150. And if you can't call for whatever reason, if your abuser might overhear you, or if you're ashamed to ask for help, because, men, we're always like, we want to come across as stronger than we are. And we have this kind of a macho, no, we can't ask for help. But yes, we need to. We can't do this thing alone. So you can just WhatsApp the word brave to that same number. Just WhatsApp brave to 0800 150 150, and you can start a chat, right? You don't even have to talk to anybody. You can immediately be put in contact with a group of brothers or with a counselor to get the help that you need. So that's for somebody who needs help right now. For a man who wants to be a better man, who wants to live by the 6 virtues of a champion man, please go to noexcusesa.com. You can go make the vow there. You can find all the material for the Champions for Change course that I mentioned, for the 6 virtues. It really is an actionable, and I'm just going to turn around here so you can see my back. So champions, take action. We are not here to talk. And we would love for men to take action.
Arne, I want that t-shirt, I want that ring, I also want that armband. Please send them through to me.
Consider it done.
Cool stuff. Thank you so much for having a chat with us. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard hashtag no excuse. That's what the time we have for today. It's time for us to say adios, amigos, and hoping that you do the bravest thing and say no to gender-based violence. We'll see you on the next edition of Open Studio. Good night.